few weeks ago, we shared some clutter stats that absolutely shocked us, left us absolutely flabbergasted, and changed the way we look at clutter in our own lives. You guys seem to love our clutter stats video, so today we're back for a part 2 with 6 more clutter stats that left us shocked. The last on our list made me audibly gasp and sit in silence for 5 minutes straight, so make sure you stick around for that doozy. All stats mentioned have their sources below in the description if you want to read into them further.
First up, clutter has a negative impact on relationships, with 48% of couples reporting that they argue over clutter at home. That's basically half. Nearly 50% of those living with a significant other arguing about clutter. That's a lot of adults around the world getting stressed out about excess stuff in their home and the impact it has on their relationships. With more stuff, there's more cleaning needed. There's more fights about being late because you couldn't find something when you needed to step out the door. There's more arguments about picking up your partner's stuff they leave draped all over the house. It's wild to think about just how many couples have clutter as a source of angst in their everyday lives. So if you're finding tension in your relationship centering around stuff, know that you're not alone. Nearly half of all relationships are too. The stats have it, clutter has a negative impact on relationships. Good news though, focusing on decluttering this excess and simplifying your home can actually improve your relationship and cut down on a major source of frustration in many relationships.
As stat number 2 on our list, 57% of adults feel stress and anxiety due to the state of their cluttered homes. This is kind of nuts when you think about it. Close to 60% of adults, whether they're living alone or not, actually feel increased stress and anxiety directly from the state of their clutter in their homes. This comes from a recent 2024 white paper report from COZY, and it's interesting to know just how many of us feel stressed out and anxious when it comes to our over excess of things in our home. Stress and anxiety aren't fun emotions to feel, let alone when it's because of the things in your home you worked hard at some stage to pay for. There's a lot of intense feelings when it comes to clutter, like guilt and shame or buyer's remorse. And even just knowing that 57% of adults also feel stress and anxiety because of the excess things they surround themselves with daily is a step towards acknowledging the impact stuff can have on us, the people around us, and intense feelings of stress and anxiety.
As clutter stat number 3, the US Department of Energy has shared that 25% of people with 2-car garages don't have room to park cars inside them because of their clutter. That's pretty crazy to hear that a quarter of all homes with double car garages can't even fit a car inside because of all the clutter. Jess and I also have a double car garage, and it's definitely been one area of our home that's been the hardest for us to keep simplified and tidy and mostly clear of excess random things. It's still one we're working on ourselves as we don't actually have any storage in there at the moment. So this was an interesting stat for us to look at.
Clutter stat number 4, another really interesting one. 47% of people report their homes are more messy and cluttered now compared to before the pandemic. This is not at all what I'd pictured to be the case when it comes to recent studies around clutter in homes now versus before the pandemic. Because I guess I assume the majority of people were home for so long, getting on top of home organization projects, working from home, and generally spending more time at home instead of going out and shopping. But the more we thought about this stat, the more it makes sense that our homes are more cluttered than ever in general for nearly half of us, because we were stuck at home. And even though we weren't going out to window shop or browse for fun in person when the world practically shut down, many of us turned to online shopping. It's so easy to add something to your cart and get something delivered with just a few clicks, so things do tend to add up quickly. I think I assumed people were spending so much time in the early pandemic days clearing out spaces to work from home. But really, as time went on and this new normal became the done thing, we've accumulated more and more. And now, according to the stats, nearly half of us are reporting our homes are more cluttered now with excess stuff than before the pandemic. This is really interesting, and we'd love to do a further in-depth video exploring the way our relationship has changed with clutter as a society pre and post pandemic. So let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see that kind of video. There's certainly been an emergence of clutter comfort from the chaos and uncertainty of the past few years. But yes, apparently nearly half of us are in messier and more cluttered homes now compared to before the pandemic, which is fascinating and something that we would love to delve into further as to why exactly that is.
Fifth and second to last on our list of clutter stats, the average 10-year-old owns 238 toys but actually only plays with just 12 of their favorites daily. This equates to just 5% of their toys they're actually playing with. We've seen a lot of information lately about the way a child's imagination can actually be more engaged simply by having less toys. Not being overwhelmed with too much selection, so decision fatigue, actually unlock more creativity creativity, especially when it comes to kids and their toys. It makes complete sense that having hundreds of toys can be a little overwhelming. Not to mention the sheer amount of time cleaning and tidying up kids' toys can quickly turn excessive for both kids and their parents. Hearing the stat that kids on average really just play with and enjoy 12 of their favorites on the daily and not the 238 plus toys is a cool stat to have up your sleeve if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by clutter. Not only will having less and focusing in on the favorites instead of relying on swapping between toy after toy to keep your kid engaged mean less time picking up toys for all, it also has the potential to unlock more creativity and imagination. Less is more when it comes to fostering and boosting creativity and imagination, and it seems toys are no different.
Last on our list, as the most shocking stat I've come across, the one that literally made me gasp out loud. The average woman will spend more than 8 years of her life shopping. According to a poll of over 3,000 women, the average woman will shop for over 25,000 hours of her life, which equates to more than 8 years total. The report conducted by GE Money indicated that women make an average of 301 shopping trips per year, lasting a total of 399 hours and 46 minutes. That's wild. That's a lot of life spent shopping. Now, breaking that down further, because I had to know more about where exactly this time, the precious hours of our lives, are going to when it comes to accumulating stuff, I came across research conducted by market research firm OnePoll, who wrote a report after surveying over 2,000 women. Their findings show that the average American woman spends around 190 hours each year specifically shopping for clothes, shoes, and window shopping. The breakdown of this is 100 hours a year spent looking just for clothes, 40 hours a year for shoes, and a whopping 50 hours just spent window shopping. That's a lot of time spent accumulating physical stuff. In contrast, women spend around 95 hours shopping for food annually. It's interesting looking at the differences in shopping that largely women do in our consumerist society. There's definitely a pressure felt to buy the latest home decor trend and never repeat an outfit. I just had no idea how much time on average was spent by women shopping. 8 years. I, for one, certainly spent a lot of my university days window shopping. I used it as my stress relief for a really long time, but it was always short-lived, and the stress didn't really go away because I was distracting myself with quite the expensive hobby of shopping. And it really just ended up cluttering up my wardrobe and making it difficult to coordinate outfits and get dressed in the morning before work. I'm definitely not alone in this, and as our stats show us, so many of us, women in particular with this stat, spend a disproportionate amount of time shopping. I had no idea this blew out to 8 years over the average lifespan, purely just shopping. It makes me incredibly thankful I heard about minimalism and simple living nearly 8 years ago, because it's literally given me years of my life back. I find it's far more enjoyable just having my favorites of favorites in my wardrobe, my trusty favorite shoes that I know I'll be comfortable in, and I can spend my time doing things I genuinely enjoy more than shopping for shopping's sake. We're not saying there's anything inherently wrong with shopping, but everything should be done in balance. And if you're like I was, where I use shopping as my go-to hobby to distress or simply because I was bored, it might be a good eye-opening stat to know just how much time on average we're spending on shopping and accumulating excess stuff. 8 years. That's a whole lot of life and a big clutter stat I'm glad I'm more aware of now, so I can try to be more discerning with my time and my own money.
These stats highlight a common thread of excess consumption. It's clear that for many of us, we have too much stuff, and it's impacting all areas of life. But the good news is that the solution isn't complicated. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's certainly not complicated. We can slow down on purchases. We can think intentionally before spending money on buying new things, declutter where we can, and simplify our lives from there. You don't need to be a minimalist to benefit from the simplicity and freedom that comes from owning less stuff. There's freedom to be found in less. The clutter stats we've shared today show just how true that is.
We'd love to know what clutter stat shocked you the most. If you like this kind of video, make sure to subscribe and give it a like. It really does help out our channel. We love sharing simple living and minimalist lifestyle content with you. And until next time, bye.
Trips on the cable.